we live in a community that is known throughout the world. We live in a community that attracts millions and millions of visitors, and we are charged with maintaining and preserving and making sure that those elements are here for ourselves, our children, and their children, and visitors from around the world.
Randy is energetic, intelligent, creative, and anything he's involved with, he just makes things happen.
Dad, throughout my entire life, has been someone that's ready to do the next thing. He's always had Adams County in the back of his mind. He was born and raised here, and how to get visitors here, which benefits all of Adams County.
When I need somebody that's just going to have the oar in the water, keep moving forward, and no matter what tempest in the teapot gets in front of him, he's just going to keep moving in the direction that he believes he needs to go to.
We have two primary economic engines in Adams County, and they're very well known. They're the fruit industry, ag, and there's tourism. We need both those industries to be robust, they need to be energized, and they need to keep moving forward. I guess you could say that my first connection with visitors in Adams County began with my childhood. My grandmother owned Coon's Fruit Farm in Cashtown, and every Saturday and Sunday during fruit season, my parents and I would go to the farm, and either from the packing house or the fruit stand out front, we would sell fresh fruit. Now, we sold that fruit to folks from Washington, Baltimore, Tawnytown, Chambersburg, York, Emmitsburg. There's no doubt I was blessed to have a very rewarding career with the National Park Service to protect the resources which are so significant not only to us but to the entire country. What I was doing was very special, very privileged. It was helping to protect a national resource that is known throughout the world.
After the 125th anniversary, Randy shared with me his experience as a National Park Ranger about visitors and reenactments. And we decided then, because they weren't run very well, we would step to the plate and put it on.
And I had just experienced the 125th reenactment working for the National Park Service. And the reenactment was the week before, and they had quality living history. As all as I heard all weekend is, where's the reenactment? Where's the reenactment? Where's the cannons? Where's the horses? And I would say, I'm sorry, that was last weekend. They said, we want to see the reenactment. And that told me that there was something to these reenactments and there was an interest.
They wanted cannons going off and horses and guys pretending like they're in the battle. I mean, they wanted action, and we gave them that.
In those 25 events, we hosted 500,000 visitors from all over the world. We hosted 100,000 reenactors from all over the world, and at a large event, we employed a staff of local folks up to 400 for each event. Not to mention, we brought millions and millions of dollars into this community.
But they were a core group of people, and we kind of became this reenactment family. So you'd only get to see these people once a year, and of course you pretty much gave up any plans you had in or around July 4th.
Probably 2.5, 3 week stretch where it was, it was reenactment time. It came around every year. I guess we got used to it. It became a part of our summer. Everybody goes to 4th of July celebrations. We had reenactments.
We knew we were running a big event. Clearly the biggest in America, but we didn't think about it like that. We just wanted to do a good job.
It was the local community who did this. And you know what? I'm so proud that we did this event, a Civil War reenactment, better than anyone else in the country. The 150th certainly stands out with 11,000 reenactors and 60,000 visitors. Probably the 150th was the pinnacle of our success for the community because it was international. It had an international base to it. The International Festival and Event Association wanted someone from Gettysburg to come over and explain a reenactment to them. I ended up in South Korea for 10 days where I presented to graduate students and doctoral students and university students. The next year, a South Korean contingent came to our reenactment, who we invited over.
Randy came into the position of Adams County Commissioner with goals he had in mind. And he has worked, from my viewpoint, continuously to achieve the goals that he initially set out.
Within the first year, we supported raising the pill tax from 3% to 5% in 2012, which was a big deal for everybody in this community. More recently, when COVID raised its head, we were able to support Destination, knowing how significant Destination was to our economic engine and tourism. Contemporarily, I've become involved with the Daniel Lady Farm. I really support the preservation they're doing out there, the history they're doing out there.
Daniel Lady Farm has provided us an opportunity to maybe do some other events that could benefit the community, bring more tourists and visitors to town.
I mean, this is a man who absolutely loves Adams County, and he absolutely had a drive to make life and things better for the people in this county.
Congratulations, Randy, on winning the 2023 Jim Getty Award. We really appreciate all your support of tourism in Adams County.
Yeah, there's no doubt as a park ranger, really, most of the time I was not doing law enforcement work. I was interacting with the visitors. I was interacting with the public, and that interaction was certainly helping people. Not arresting them, but helping them was probably the best part of the job. I had a great career, but probably the two takeaways from that career that really stand out to me and are important is, one, that I was volunteered by our chief Brian Fitzgerald and myself and Ricky Pierce to create the Gettysburg National Park Service Volunteer Park Watch Program. I'm proud to say a couple years ago that program just celebrated its 25th anniversary. It is one of the best and largest park watch programs in the nation.
Some of the memories that kind of stick out for me is with his Park Service days, going to the annual Park Watch picnic, which was there to honor those volunteers that had volunteered their hours at the park for that year, and just seeing the Park Watch picnic grow, and it got bigger and bigger, and just showed how something that Dad and Ricky Pierce had created, how it had grown and took on a different animal, and also the fact that it's replicated in other parks. Just goes to show how it was a good program and the effort that was put into it, and to see that grow. And that related kind of directly back to the tourism, because it helped with vandalism of monuments. It made the park safer and made people want to come to Gettysburg and feel safer to come to Gettysburg. So that's a way that that Park Watch program really helped Adams County as well as the park and the tourism industry.
The other highlight of many that stand out is that 6 times I was assigned to carry the Gettysburg Address back and forth to Gettysburg from the Library of Congress. And the Gettysburg Address was in the backseat of my patrol car. There was another patrol vehicle, a curator's car, and I would go up, sign for the Gettysburg Address, take it down, put it in my car, and up the road we come to Gettysburg. So to think that 6 times I did that is pretty special. And I also feel that because of that, I sort of have a special connection to both Abraham Lincoln and to Jim Getty. I consider my job as a law enforcement ranger for the National Park Service to be very special. Some folks get up in the morning and they don't look forward to going to work. I get up in the morning, it always was a morning, it could be afternoon and it could be midnight. Always look forward to going to work because I knew what I was doing was very special, very privileged. It was helping to protect a national resource that is known throughout the world. And after I ended my career, I look back on it with great satisfaction, and I must tell you that there are some days I still miss my job in my patrol car, interacting with the visitors and going to emergency calls. I still miss that. It's still in my DNA. Yeah, I'm proud to say that our staff was all local. It was the local community who did this. And you know what? I'm so proud that we did this event, a Civil War reenactment, better than anyone else in the country. One reason we got into this was because how dismally other organizers conducted events in our community. And we felt that we could do it better, and we did. A portion of this award needs to go to my two long-term colleagues and partners in the reenactment, Tony Strickland and George Lomas. We all brought different things to the table, that's for sure, but in collaboration, we made it work. And also, the local staff, some of the senior staff, was with us for all 25 years.
Yeah. So Randy created this the reenactment. He and a couple of partners, and early on, we were just like all volunteers, and the reason we volunteered is because of Randy, and the reason Randy did it is, I think, because of his belief in Gettysburg and Adams County, and they needed this event. And the early years of the reenactment were a struggle. I mean, we had times where cars were getting dragged out of a field because we had too much rain, and our good friend Tony Strickland would supply the merchandise. I eventually became in charge of the retail, selling T-shirts, selling little miniature cannons, and it became fun. And at the end of each reenactment, we would have a celebration. It was like a giant family meal. Randy would supply chicken and potato salad, and everybody would gather around picnic tables, and we'd celebrate what we had just accomplished over the last 2, 3, or 4 days. So we certainly didn't do it for the money. Nobody got rich off of these things, but we did it, I think, for the right reasons, and we did it because of the camaraderie, and it became a lot of fun. And we met thousands of interesting people from all over the world. And it was fascinating.
Yeah, I used to have a tagline. I used it all the time in interviews and at the end of statements. It said, making those dusty old history books come alive. And that's what we strive for. We strive to both entertain and educate. And if you would see the looks on some faces at the reenactment, when folks would come up after the reenactment and seek me out and thank me for that experience, that was priceless. And I think we were very successful in making those dusty old history books come alive for 500,000 folks. When you had 11,000 reenactors in the field, and you had 60,000 people over 4 days, and you had a grandstand with 10,000 people in, it was gratifying, and it was a little bit, as I say, surreal, that we were able to do that and do it so well.
I have many fond memories of being at the reenactment with Dad, trying to be there as much as he was, having Dad having my mom to come pick me up and say it's time for a young 10-year-old to go home. And I guess looking back, being a child and now being an adult, seeing again the reenactments grow and to where they were for the 150th, and it was something that Dad recognized that there was a need for a local organization to put on the reenactments. Because I'd ride around in my dad's orange case tractor, and I'd sell hay and ice, and I was just a kid driving around the tractor selling hay and ice to the reenactors, and I thought it was great. And then at one point, I had the same stand with the hay and ice. We sold jumbo ice pops. And Dad would juggle doing the Park Service, doing reenactments, and any other commitments he had, and he did it very well. And come within a weekend of the reenactment, I was up at 4 in the morning and thinking about stuff, typing stuff out for the day, and you go to bed around 10 or 11, and you get up and do it for about a 3-day stretch. And Dad was always very good at doing that. He also was good with working with many different people. There was a lot of people of different walks of life that came out to the reenactment, and they came out for one weekend a year. And there's a lot of personalities, and Dad was kind of that cohesive person that brought everybody together to make it work. And he was also very proud of all the community members and organizations that were out there helping at the reenactment. I guess more recently, for the more recent events, it was usually Dad and I in the tower. It's he and I up there, and we just kind of look at each other, give each other a big hug, and say, you know, another one in the books, good job to each other. And that'll be a memory that I'll always have, he'll always have, of us being in the tower together. And
Well, it would be almost impossible to understand the depth of those events and what they meant. And along with all the successes and triumphs, you know, there were disappointments and frustrations, extreme, when the rain's beating against the window pane at nighttime before an event, or hitting the roof. And, you know, 3 times in 25 years, we had to postpone the event. And when that happened, it's traumatic. It's traumatic for us, it's traumatic for the visitors, it's traumatic for the community. So, to run that event, it was not for the faint-hearted. And there was and is risk to it, as in any outdoor event. But we had our disappointments, we had our I don't want to say failures, we had our disappointments and we had our problems. But normally after that, we had the fortitude and the foundation and the staff that we would rise up and we would overcome. Going back to 1998, at the 135th at the Bushy Farm, we had 22,000 reenactors. So when I say it was a small city, yeah, I'm not exaggerating.
That's right. That's one of our proudest moments is we had 4 5-year events which are always bigger than the others for some reason. But we could easily get 400 or 500 staff members. We would have 60,000 visitors, and we ran from 11 to 22,000 reenactors on these 5-year events. But the staff stayed with us for the most part. It was one generation, and then the kids, and then the grandkids, but we called it the juice. Nobody wanted to do this for a real living, but for 3 days, they could make a few extra bucks, and they loved doing it. Well, Randy and George Lomas and I had a partnership, and we literally worked every day of the year, some way, communicating, talking on the phone, having meetings to do a 3-day event. You know, and it was pretty stressful. But with everybody having different skill levels, it seemed to work for us. Yeah, you know, we enjoyed it. You know, we certainly loved working together because we were very good friends. You know, and it wasn't easy. There were disagreements, you know, but we were very good about being able to meet in the middle. You know, there was just a lot of decisions to be made, but we had to make sure that we took care of the community. We had to take care of the landowners. We certainly had to satisfy the reenactors. And we wanted happy visitors, and we accomplished that.
There's no doubt, looking back, that 25 years was one hell of a run. The 150th certainly stands out with 11,000 reenactors and 60,000 visitors. We worked closely with the community and with Destination Gettysburg, especially on the media contingent and especially on the shuttle. And it was extremely well planned. I think the visitors left that event, even in a rainstorm at the end, you know, smiling and having an outstanding experience and having a great experience in our community. In 2012, there was a committee who was going to help organize the 150th. Well, it never really came together the way it should, and Brad Hoke and I had an idea that we call it Prelude to Gettysburg, where maybe we would take an event to some of the towns that led to Gettysburg, which included Greencastle, Chambersburg, Fairfield, and then Gettysburg. Well, some folks thought that could not happen, and Brad and I decided that we would make it happen. And consequently, in April of 2012, every weekend, beginning with the first one, we did Greencastle with a skirmish and a living history. We then, the next weekend, moved to Chambersburg, and we did the burning of Chambersburg, which incidentally was my idea and is still happening today. After that, we went to Fairfield, and we found out that the folks in Fairfield felt that their history has been ignored, and they were happy to see us, and we did the Battle of Fairfield the third weekend. And then the fourth weekend was Gettysburg on the grounds of the Lutheran Seminary, the first time that they had ever allowed living history, and we had a skirmish. And we have to thank especially two people for that, John Spangler and Dr. Michael Cooper. They had faith and trust in Brad Hoke and I that we could make this happen responsibly, and we did. That turned out to be a great April, the prelude to Gettysburg 2012.
For a long time, I was chair of that organization, and Randy was key in that because he had all the contacts and he had the phone book and he had the email addresses for people that we really wanted involved in that. And I think it was 2011 when we had a kickoff, and Randy supplied. Randy invited the reenactors, and he invited the folks with the cannon. And so we had that program. We had the reenactors on Baltimore Street, and we had the cannonade, which was at several sites around the county, and we had a program at the Pennsylvania Monument out on the National Park Service land. And Randy was a huge part in that. That Randy did, which was not well known, but when the Seminary Ridge Museum had their ribbon cutting, their open ceremony on July 1st, 2013, surrounding that there was a Civil War encampment on seminary land. Randy's the one who brought that all together. He's the one who did that. He's certainly been involved with reenactment since 1995. So he had more than 25 years that he brought thousands of tourists to this county, plus the opening of the 150th anniversary, plus the ribbon cutting, the opening ceremonies for the museum, plus campaign together for his very first run. And he and I went out to lunch or breakfast, I don't remember what it was, and he asked me if I'd be his campaign manager. And I said, I would love to do that, Randy. Randy is energetic, intelligent, creative, and anything he's involved with, he just makes things happen. And there was no doubt in my mind that he would absolutely be one of the best county commissioners that our county ever had. And I said yes right away. And then I said, but you know, Randy, you're a Republican and I'm a Democrat. Are you aware of that? He said, yes, I am, and I don't care. I said, then I'll be happy to do it, because I don't vote party, I vote for the man, and you're the man that I want to vote for.
Yeah.
Well, I learned that he was awfully well prepared. He had a master's degree from Shippensburg University in public administration. He was a graduate assistant for the Department of Local and State Government, and right there I knew that he had a lot of book learning and he had a lot of training, and I was really pleased to hear that. Plus, I already knew that he was, we'll call him the operations manager for the Gettysburg Civil War reenactment, the annual reenactment, and that's a big responsibility, and he performed in that role incredibly well. I knew that he was the guy who could basically manage county affairs. So I was delighted. I also learned that anything he was involved with, he put his whole heart in. And he put his whole heart in that job and in that campaign. I mean, this is a man who absolutely loves Adams County. And he absolutely had a drive to make life and things better for the people in this county. And I just loved that kind of attitude. I just loved it. We had a reception at our house that we invited people to meet Randy, and one of the former Adams County commissioners who knew Randy fairly well came to that reception, and I asked him, "Why'd you come?" And he said, "Well, I've known Randy really well, but I wanted to ask him a number of questions that I never got around to asking him." That was another fine Adams County commissioner also, who is now passed.
With the county's share of pill tax a few years ago, we were able to dedicate $1 million toward the establishment of the new Adams County Historical Society Museum. And several times Andrew has flattered me by saying that $1 million really launched their campaign to the heights that it rose to today. Partnered with Adams County Planning, Adams County Economic Development, and Destination Gettysburg, we're in the process of making the Pennsylvania Ag Discovery Center a reality in Adams County. Right now, as I speak, the county is paying for a feasibility study which is being conducted at this time.
Now, in my world, you know, Randy and I have both been county commissioners. He is directly responsible for bringing every county commissioner in Pennsylvania here to Adams County. He stood up in front of them. I don't think they had ever had their statewide meeting here in Gettysburg. We're Adams County. And he said, you know, why are you going, you know, why are you always going to Hershey? Why are you going to Philadelphia, Pittsburgh? Why don't you come, you know, come right here? He made that case. He was very compelling. And so we had a statewide conference. All the vendors, all the people like me that go, all the other county commissioners from every 67 counties have been to Adams County because of Randy.
There are a lot of chapters in my tourism journey, but there's one constant, and that's my family. To endure someone who has been in law enforcement, has had reenactments, is a county commissioner, you know, it takes a lot of tolerance, a lot of understanding, and you know, I certainly can't end this without recognizing and thanking my wife Kathy and my children and all the local community folks who have supported me and supported this event and supported Adams County.
Dad is all about family, and it comes through in all of us. And again, people around the community know that, and family is everything to my dad.
One reason this award has a special significance to me is because I actually knew and worked with Jim Getty. Jim would come to every reenactment and give the Gettysburg Address, and of course the visitors loved that. We would pick him up, we would give him an assistant, we would take him in a golf cart to the tower or the front of the stands, and then we would take him back with his assistant. Many years, Dana Witt was his personal assistant. At the 150th, Jim very much wanted to do the 150th. His health was failing, we all knew that, and Jim came out to the event on the first day. Dana met him off-site, brought him to the event, and gave the Gettysburg Address. He was too ill then to come the next 3 days. So Jim did get to come to the 150th the first day and participate in that, and that is a very special memory.